Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Rising Stars. I'm your interim host, Sean Watt. Don't worry, Mike will be back in the near future. This production is sponsored by Urban Eats MTL. I cannot tell you guys how excited I am to have present to you guys our next guest. We have the one and only acting mama of Montreal, Josa Maule, the founder of MSOPA. What an absolute pleasure to have you here, Josa.
Well, thank you for having me here.
So let's dive in. How long have you been in Montreal for?
Well, I mean, I'm born and raised
Born
in
and
Montreal.
raised. Okay.
Born and raised in Montreal, and I know the question is that what made you get into this madness of running an acting school? Well,
Yeah, where did that start from?
Well,
The origins.
I mean, one, I've always been a ham. I've always been dramatic, as my mother would say.
Yeah.
And from a very young age, I was part of the Negro Community Center, which is was a historical building, but it was an organization where we took ballet, tap, music. My piano teacher was Daisy Sweeney, who is the late Daisy Sweeney, who is the sister of Oscar Peterson and taught Oliver Jones. And it was that environment that got me involved in the arts.
Okay.
And part of a little bit of theater here in school and, church and all that. At the age of 8, I produced my first production in my parents' basement.
Wow, that's so young. 8 years old.
8 years old. I bullied my sisters and my cousins.
Do you remember what the production was?
It was a talent show.
Nice, okay.
And I was the star.
Yes.
And I charged the adults $1 to get in.
Yeah.
And I paid the actors 25 cents.
We're already running a business, huh?
Yeah, well, and I continue to work, train and take classes and do shows and everything like that. And I took workshops here and there and in New York, growing up, and because I'd spent some of my summers in New York.
Okay.
And take some workshops in New York, and also part of the Black community and church and school.
Yeah.
I worked for another acting school that's no longer around, but and through working with them, a few of the people who were no longer working there were like, "Why don't you open your own school? You'd be great at it."
Yeah.
I'm like, I got no money.
Yeah.
How am I going to do this? And I've, for those who know me, I'm a very spiritual person. And I prayed on it and I prayed on it. And one morning I got up and I said, nothing beats a failure but a try. If I don't do this, I'll never know.
Yeah.
32 years later, I am blessed to wake up and do what I love to do. And people ask me, what's next for MSOPA? If I wake up tomorrow morning, when I wake up tomorrow morning, that's what's next.
Yeah. It's living day to day, right? Moment to moment.
But
time flies, right?
It's, just like that, But when I started at renting out a location to moving one place, and then we found our home, which was on the second floor of a Korean church, and then we outgrew that space, and then we moved into another space, and then the overhead was just, so I had to do certain things to keep the school going. And then we worked in another location, renting on an hourly basis, and
that's tough, huh?
well, sometimes you just got to go with whatever the storm is, and move forward. But I know that one thing that I know is I love doing what I do. I love my teachers are absolutely awesome. They have the same passion, and we started off with, I'm just going to be an acting school. Yeah. We're just going to train. That's what's going to happen.
Simple concept. Right?
But we also, not only do we train you, we also educate you about the business.
Yeah.
maybe 4 years as we started in 1992. So in 1995, my artistic director, Dale Hayes at the time, and she said, well, I want to do a show. And I'm like, okay, where am I going to get the money? I'm not applying for grants, and I'm trying to figure things out. Now, I have to let people know that while I was running the school, I was also working a full-time job.
Jeez.
And so that full-time job generally paid for me and the school. And then eventually, 9 years later, the job let me go, and it was the suburban newspaper.
Yeah.
Which I have to say, one of the owners, Amos Sakachuski, sponsors us every year with
That's
with
great.
passes for our barbecue for our raffle. And so working that full-time job and knowing how to get advertising and all the networking that I've done throughout the years, because I was the go-getter.
Yeah.
I was at every rap party. I was sometimes not invited, crashing with 11 people,
Yeah.
and going to every film festival and networking and networking and networking and networking.
Being as visible as possible is the key, I think, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I encourage my students to do.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
to be, network, go to film festivals, go to this, go to that. Because it's great to say you're an actor, but if you're at home, sitting at home, you're at home, sitting at home.
Yeah.
You're an
actor who's not an actor sitting at home.
You have to go to plays and so on and so forth. So when she said, let's do this play, and I'm like, okay. And we did. And then we did the play next year, and then we were doing 2 plays a year. Then it, 2 plays a year, and then we did Espresso Theater. So we started doing like 9 plays a year, a play a month.
That's crazy. That's a lot.
Oh my God! And I'm like, how did I do that? But you know what? Hey, I did it, and it was an opportunity to provide our students with a platform to introduce them to the acting community. It was experience and exposure for the actors. I fell into casting. I was working with Concordia film students, and then also before, and Ionis can probably correct me, I was dealing with Trebas Institute for voiceover for their studio for our for certain things that we had for the audience, and I think the film department opened up in 1994. Not quite sure, but then Trebas, we were sending our students to Trebas Institute for experience and exposure.
Yeah, so like collaboration, right? Mutual collaboration.
Absolutely. So and for those who graduated, after they graduate, they'll come to me for, and pay me for my services for casting. So from Concordia, communication, film, Trebas film. So I started working with all the students, and then that's where casting came about, like I'd say in 1995, 94. I also worked as a subcontractor with another casting director who's no longer doing it. But, Okay, so I think I went off track.
No, it's okay.
As I often do.
So what I would say is, like, when MSOPA was founded, what classes did you guys specialize in at first? Was it for film and television? Was it more focused on theater?
It was focused on acting.
Acting in general.
Acting in general.
Yeah.
Acting for film, acting for theater, acting for television.
And then flash forward to current date. You guys offer a wide range of programs now,
we started with foundation, and we developed the curriculum. We also offer improv comedy with Terrence Bowman, and that also with sketch comedy, performing sketch comedy, comedy for actors, voiceover with Paula Davis. Now, interesting fact, Paula Davis was one of my first students.
Really?
In 1992. And not only did we become very good friends, but, I had her teaching my children's class outside the school, because we do also programs outside of MSOPA into different schools and communities.
Nice.
And then I had her teaching my children, and then I had her teaching my teens, and then, she, was developing the voiceover. And then I had my voiceover teacher at the time could not do it.
Okay.
And she was doing voiceover, and she was doing, through MSOPA, she had a gig working with, I'm going to forget the name of the animation,
Yeah.
but I know it was on the ABTN.
Okay.
And so she started developing her own program that what actors need for voice acting.
Yeah.
And so that's one of our most popular classes since COVID.
Okay.
And it still is today. Another class that some students do jump in, or some of them are just afraid of, is Just Scenes with Me.
Yeah.
Just Scenes and Scenes on Camera. So this class was developed, I would have to say, in 2000 or so.
Okay.
I had an actor come in for, not one of mine, an actor come in for a lead role. Script or sides were sent to him 5 days. Wasn't off book.
Okay.
Then,
That's plenty of time, though.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
And then the director really liked him and wanted him to come in the following week with the same script. Still wasn't off book.
That's unreal.
And this gave me the idea to create this class, which I call Just Scenes. And this class is really intense. I don't know if you've taken
I've
this
taken
class.
it with you three times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because Just Scenes is like you give it, like just like preparing for an audition.
Yeah.
You receive your sides 3 to 4 days before the class.
Yeah.
You're expected to be off book.
Yeah.
All right. Just like going for an audition.
Exactly.
Right? And you don't even know who your scene partner is. You come in, you do your work on your own. We train our actors to work independently because you're not going to be working with the director 24/7.
No.
You're not going to be working with your scene partner 24/7 or as often as you like. You're going to see your scene partner in the scene the day of the shoot.
Yeah.
All right? So you have to be responsible to be off book.
I mean, imagine if I was a man-child. You don't want to work with a man-child, right? Right? You want to work with someone who's...
I want to work with people who are ready to work.
Exactly.
And what people fail to realize, this business it's not shake and stir.
No.
All right? And I'm stealing this line from Netflix Hollywood. When I heard this line, I was like, yeah, I gotta take that one. Acting isn't magical. It's a job.
No.
It's a craft to commit time to.
So much patience.
Patience,
Much.
perseverance, but passion.
Yeah.
Passion, being prepared, perseverance. I keep on saying the same words, but those are what's important.
Those are the keys to it.
Yeah.
Right?
So going back to Just Scenes, I use this class to prepare you for auditions, to prepare you for scripts. All right. It's a gym. Not to come in and memorize your lines. It's to be. It's because acting is doing something truthfully with a purpose. Acting is reacting, and acting is creating believability under imaginary circumstances.
Well, I remember when I was training with MSOPA, because that's where I started, was with you guys, Foundation 1, Foundation 2, Just Scenes, etc. And I remember taking it so serious when I was starting with the Just Scenes in person. I would disappear from everybody for 4 or 5 days during that time to rehearse, know my lines, this and that, right? Because I, as an artist who loves it, I take it serious, right? And there's a lot of people who get into acting and they think, oh, it's going to be such a breeze and it's easy. You need to make that time to put in the work. And that's one thing that I've noticed with those that are just trying to do it, or those that take it serious with a business mentality to it, right? Because you, as an actress, are the inventory. The producers are looking to shop around. Who do they want to purchase?
Right.
Right? How can you stand out? Right? So you need to set yourself apart, and that's the work ethic.
Well,
Right?
yes, absolutely. I mean, mind you, if you walk into an audition, things that you cannot control is what they're looking for and what you look like.
I know.
All right?
I know.
But if you go in there and you are off book and you made choices and there's something there that's like, you know what? not this time, but I'm going to keep him in
maybe
mind.
next.
And I've worked with filmmakers that when they've seen certain actors, like the next project they're doing, the ones that they really were interested in, they're bringing them in for an audition.
There you
You
go.
know,
Yeah.
and you know, one of the things that I do, exposing my students to the industry. I have them come in as being readers with myself or a few other casting directors that I work with. I bring them on set.
Well, one thing that I've noticed about MSOPA is you guys really cater to kids as well, right? You're not just teaching adults who want to try to get into it. You're going right to the root and being like, we'll have a kids camp, we'll have youth classes, and I think that's amazing because I think in the city you guys are the only ones to do it.
No, we're not the only ones that do it, but I'm not going to
No.
because the other ones
I don't want to know, but yeah.
But no, we it's children as young as 5 and teens, and we also treat them like adults in a sense. We know,
of course, a certain
that,
etiquette.
Things that we talk. Listen, when you go for an audition, it's not as intimidating for the adults, but it's still intimidating nonetheless.
Of course.
But I keep on telling them, I go, as long as you love this, and when it's not fun anymore, then do something else. And I say it to my adults too. But a lot of my children grow with the school. And I mean, they for an example, case in point, and Amanda's is tired of hearing this story. Amanda Mara is one of my children's teacher, but she was a student of mine when she was 8 years old.
Wow.
Okay. Paula was a student of mine when, I don't want to say her age.
Kevin as well.
Kevin.
I met him.
Kevin was a student of mine, was 11.
Yeah.
And not only was he a student, but in the 13, 14, because, everybody's a volunteer at MSOPA. Yeah. But I also had him being an assistant director to me and learning a little bit more. I had him being a teacher's aide for summer camp.
Yeah, I remember that's when he first started, and now he's doing.
Now he did a 3-year program
right?
He did a 3-year program at John Abbott, at Professional Theater.
Yeah.
He was also doing it in high school at John Rennie. And so now, not only does he teach my teens, he also teaches movement.
Body movement, right?
Body movement,
combat?
part of the phase 1, and he also teaches stage combat.
Which is great. That's so awesome.
Learning to kick one another's butt without actually being kicked.
It's kind of de-stressing. I would imagine.
We did it this year with the summer camp, and the kids had, and he brought in swords.
Yeah.
Brought in, plastic swords, but brought in swords. And it's fun. So we also, and who else? Students and my teachers have been with me for a very long time.
Yeah,
loyal. And I try to be a good employer.
I would say if it's any way that you treat all the students I've come through MSOPA, including myself, when I've had, personal issues that I've gone through, and you reached out without hesitation, I'm sure that your staff are in amazing hands because you treat each and every single one of us like family. And that's what separates you guys, right? But there's a professional etiquette.
Well, there is a professional, and then there's familiarity that breeds content.
Yeah.
But, I look at everybody as individuals, and sometimes, I don't call it nurturing our intuition. I know sometimes when it's like, hey, what's wrong? Yeah. What's wrong? I feel it in my spirit. What's wrong?
Instinct, yeah.
And then we'll talk. There's many of my students over the years where they come and they're so not depressed, but in despair, and because their expectation that they were expecting, and I'll sit down and I'll talk with them, and I'll say, listen, you know what? Is this something you still want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
one-on-one. Be real.
And why do you feel this? Maybe, try this, try that. And listen, I am in a business. I would love for people to take classes with me all the time.
Yeah.
But not everybody can, afford it, even though our courses are affordable.
Well, it's the economy now. I mean, that's another story, but...
exactly. But I tell them, hey, listen, a dancer dances all the time. An athlete trains every day. If it's not in the gym, they're running, or they're swimming.
Acting exercises.
And acting exercises on
Yeah.
your own. Read monologues, read plays, read scripts.
Study scenes, TV series, etc. Right?
Study scenes. In terms of, I don't like using actual
Like film and television.
that have been seen and done.
Yeah.
Because then you're not really truthful. You're almost, if you know the film, it's like back in the day, people will send me self-tapes of them doing, Al Pacino, Scent of the
iconic
Women,
line, right?
or Scarface, and it's like, hey, well, Al Pacino did a really good job before. You can't. I use in all my classes original scripts.
Which is good.
Yes.
Right? So do you actually have anyone who writes the scripts for you? And then you
I
can
have
use
a few
them?
people. I have a few people, and there's a few online that you can find. But I know that they're original scripts. But there's a few people that I have writing or aspiring writers that will say, can you workshop this a little bit? And I will do it by doing scenes for my audition workshops. And
I don't know if you've heard of a site, but it's called Monologue Blogger. So
Yes.
I use that to
Yes.
have original content to practice, and I think it's fantastic. They have dramedies, comedies, scenes for two, etc. So, thought that might help you out in terms of but you already know it. So.
Yes, I do. I mean, I do a lot of research.
Yeah.
I want to say on my downtime, but I don't have a downtime.
No.
But when especially when students have taken the classes over and over and over again, my challenge is to make sure that I give them another script that they have not worked on.
Well, it's like stimulating like a pet almost, right? You want to keep them entertained. You want them to stay and keep coming back.
And
right?
and also, like, for me,
For
all right,
business.
not necessarily for business, but I mean, for me with them is to challenge them, to keep on challenging them and pushing them further and further and further.
Just to develop. I mean,
exactly.
Of course.
Because just, anybody can memorize a script, but it's bringing truth to it.
It's truthful acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing that part of your soul into the character and making it believable, making yourself believe that those events occurred.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And being and not going back to when I was this is what happened and that's what I felt like, but I mean there's so many different factors.
Yeah, it's finding keys to being okay. How can this character relate to my personal life? And you start bringing everything in. It's a puzzle, and you start putting it. You solve it, right? To the best of your ability, not 100%.
Different, we don't subscribe to one method because there's so many different. No. But you have to see what works best for you, and that's not going to be damaging because acting could be damaged to an individual because if they're an emotional trigger, we don't want you to be there because at the end of the day, you're not finding, the cure for cancer. You're just doing something you love, which is acting, Well,
I don't know if you read in the news recently, but Joaquin Phoenix, he dropped out of his film where he had to portray a gay lover.
Okay.
He was a producer for the film, and he said he got cold feet.
But he played a gay lover before, no?
Yeah, but this was going to be more raunchy, the scenes.
Okay.
I guess. And he got cold feet, and he's like, no way. And that's a perfect example of saying, anyone who's not in the industry doesn't understand the psychological effects that would impact his mental state of health, having to go through those scenes, because he's literally doing, physically doing those scenes to the best of his ability in terms of making it real.
Right.
That's already traumatizing if he's someone who's straight and then he has to live through that vividly. Versus someone who's just watching saying, oh, well, why did he bail 5 days before?
You know what? I don't know what his personal or whatever it is. I mean, sometimes when you have a script, if you feel there's something that you're not good with, all right, then you don't do it. You don't tell them, I don't like the script, but you find a way to say, thank you for the offer. I'm looking forward to working with you in the future, but either you're not available or this is not,
Exactly.
Because sometimes when you say, oh, this is not for me or I don't like the script, okay, it's not a good thing to say.
That's diva alert.
Well,
I mean,
yes,
kind of.
yeah, it's kind of a diva alert. And it can also be like, I mean, till this day, there's a filmmaker that I worked with like 20-something years ago, and he still remembers the actress saying, well, I don't like the script, And there's a lot of scripts out there. Not all of them are going to be great. They're not going to be all masterpieces. But
No.
But if there's something in the script that if you don't like to show, you don't like to do nudity, all right, like I'm not doing nudity,
Yeah.
I'm going to say no, I'm good. I'm sorry, I cannot do it. But I mean, in my opinion, if you already said yes, you should have already read the script. You should have already been,
Well, here's where it gets interesting.
And there now there's intimate coaches.
Yeah.
So it's not like that anything is really happening. I mean, it's a the intimacy parts are like it's choreographed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a dance.
Yeah.
It's a nocturnal dance.
Yeah.
But he actually created this movie, so he was one of the main producers, writer, and then he was the lead actor, and they built sets in Mexico.
Right.
And then, he dropped out 5 days before the shoot. The crew need to get paid. They lost money on the sets. They're in deep pocket right now. So in terms of like someone committing, maybe too much, maybe, he just felt uncomfortable, although he should have known already prior.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
if he's the producer, so it's not news to him, which is very odd, right?
And he just shot himself in the foot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, there are actors that have, done a lot of stupid, dumb stuff, and it has jeopardized their careers. And those are the consequences, And, for him backing out like this, all right, 5 days before the shoot and having to take a loss, next time he has an idea, it's going to be the EP. How many people are willing to stick their neck out?
Yeah.
There's
a lot of people that just lost money. So.
So again, I mean, I've had actors commit and not show up to things. Well, actually, when they do that with me, like there's no conversation.
You ghost them. They're gone.
I mean, listen. Other than your death, okay.
Yeah.
Things happen in life. All right.
Of course.
Parents, sibling. Okay, understandable, and people are willing to work around that.
Emergency basis.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm going through something right now, and
That's no excuse.
could you hold the shoot for a couple days, for a month, while I work myself out of it? And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And even
no
though,
words.
No words. And that's happened like, maybe twice in the 32 years. And one of the things is that, in the classes, I talk about the business.
You do. You do. You're very upfront with everybody about it.
And I don't mix my words.
No.
I'm straight on point,
No.
And because at least in here at MSOPA, this is where you make your mistakes. So when you go out there, you don't, And I usually have a 3-strike rule, all right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't know any better. You're new to this. So I have to educate you on okay. Because not everybody's taking acting to become an actor.
No.
So, I would set up, audition or casting opportunities, all right? And I'd see who's going to respond, all right? And not everybody's available to, even if you're getting paid or not getting paid, not everybody's available.
Yeah.
But then there's some people who are like, oh, well, I want an audition. I go, I just sent something out. How come you didn't apply? Well, I go, well, then why not?
Yeah. So why should you be presented with this opportunity if you're not taking that?
Or I'll have this, well, I want a bigger role. I don't want to do extra, And I'm like, well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do background. No, not me. But when you have a bigger role, I'll audition. And I just, I'm this is
Then
me.
you know they don't love it.
No, this is me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next. When I started acting and did some of the extra work on unionized or non-union projects, I was like a kid in the candy store. I loved it. I marveled at the lights going up and the crew doing their thing and seeing the true movie magic behind it, And I think a lot more, of the mentality that a lot of these actors have has to be just more genuine. Like, you're doing it because you love it. Like you said, you've had a business for 32 years. And it's for a reason. It's not exactly and counting, but it's for a reason, right? So before we wrap up the show, as the time's already up. I know, so quick, I know. Where do you see the future of MSOPA?
I get
and
that.
Let's say 5 years from now.
I get that question
What's
asked
next?
every time.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Is it?
And I'm going to give you the same answer I tell everybody.
All right, let's hear it.
What's next for MSOPA? That God gives me the grace to wake up tomorrow morning. And what happens tomorrow belongs to God.
Yeah.
And where his plan and his purpose is for me. He has not brought me this far to leave me.
No.
And so where MSOPA is going to be in the next 5 years, the next 5 days, I can tell you, I mean, I know this is going to be seen afterwards. The next 5 days, it's the barbecue, God spare me. But, and it's always the next, And so everything is not in my hands.
So living in the moment.
Living in the moment and just being grateful that I have. I listened to this the other day that you have people who are assigned to you and you have people who are attached to you, and I have quite a bit of people who are assigned to me.
Yeah.
So again, tomorrow's not promised to you. So my answer is that I wake up tomorrow morning, it's a great day, and it's another day to be creative, to inspire, to encourage, and to empower somebody.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was an absolute pleasure, guys, to have Josa Maule, the founder of MSOPA, Montreal School of Performing Arts, on our show. I'm your interim host, Sean Watt. This production is sponsored by Urban Eats MTL. I'll catch you guys on the next episode.